Deep in the mist-shrouded jungles of the South Pacific lies a story official history prefers to ignore. One that challenges what we think we know about human origins, hidden races, and the unknown. On the remote Solomon Islands, still called by locals the place time forgot, whispers persist of giants. Beings described in old newspapers, military dispatches, and native lore as towering over 15 feet tall. Massive footprints pressed into the jungle mud, red-eyed figures with long hair and faces unlike anything in textbooks. Alongside these accounts are reports of strange lights in the sky, vanished patrols, and forbidden caves said to have housed the Tall Ones. The pattern threads through eras of exploration, colonial expeditions, and modern cover-ups. We begin with the land itself, how explorers, missionaries, soldiers, and opportunistic scientists all left their mark. Then we enter one of its most haunting chapters, the Second World War. During the Battle of Guadalcanal, Japanese and Allied troops whispered about enormous humanoids moving through the undergrowth, rumors that never made it onto official maps. From there, we turn to the book Solomon Islands Mysteries, Accounts of Giants and UFOs in the Solomon Islands by Marius Boirayon, a chilling compilation of native testimonies, newspaper clippings, and reports of aerial phenomena intertwined with sightings of real living giants. Even if a fraction of these reports hold truth, they hint at an incomplete prehistory, a world where hidden races may have survived in the remote refuges, while institutions like the Smithsonian quietly look the other way. If giants once walked these jungles, what else lies buried beneath the canopy or the dust of sealed archives? So as we step off the ship into dense foliage and the echo of ancient footsteps, ask yourself this: what if this isn't a myth? What if the footprints, the towering skeletons, and the UFOs above the islands form a part of a larger, hidden story? Stay with me as we enter the jungle, the war zones, and the forgotten pages of history into the possibility that giants once walked here and may still. Are you ready to join the hunt? What would you do if you stood before a footprint that was 3 feet long? Used copies of the Solomon Islands Mysteries actually sell for $150 to over $500 on Amazon. I'll be giving away a free, brand new copy of the book to listeners who enter to win. See Part 2 to learn how you can win a free copy with absolutely no purchase necessary, for educational entertainment purposes only. Welcome back to my channel, Sage of Lores. This presentation will be citing some incredible stories and first-hand accounts of real, living giants that exist today, as told from the infamous book Solomon Islands Mysteries by Marius Boirayon. In the early 1990s, Boirayon was an Australian helicopter pilot working in the Solomon Islands, and he documented accounts of giant beings and underground structures. He married a local woman from the Solomon Islands, which provided him deeper cultural access and trust among the communities, aiding his research into the island's hidden histories and accounts of real giants. To my knowledge, there is no other book like this that has such detailed accounts of the types of giants that exist, their regular interactions with locals, and even mentions of UFOs and extraterrestrials playing a part in the mystery of the Solomon Islands. This book is incredibly rare. Even used copies are listed as much as $150 to over $500 on Amazon. As a special gift to my audience, I will be offering one brand new copy of the book free to a lucky listener. There is absolutely no purchase necessary. I assure you this is not a scam. Anyone that knows me knows I am an honest person, and I will even pay for shipping as long as you live within the continental US. To enter, you must visit the Sage of Lores Facebook page. The link is in the description. Follow the Facebook page and see the pinned post at the top for rules to enter, and the winner will be announced December September 18th on TikTok Live. If you're new to my channel or a frequent follower and you do like my content and think I deserve it, a small donation is always appreciated on my Patreon. But the most important thing that you can do to show your appreciation for this free content right now is hit that follow button on all my platforms, and please like, comment, share, and hit subscribe on YouTube. Click the bell, select all so you can get notifications as soon as I publish more content. Now let's get back to the video. For educational entertainment purposes only, before they became a World War II battleground, the Solomon Islands were already steeped in myth, an emerald chain adrift in the South Pacific, caught between history and legend. European contact began in 1568 when Spanish navigator Alvaro de Montaña stumbled upon the islands searching for King Solomon's fabled mines of gold, the biblical Ophir. Convinced he had found the source of Solomon's wealth, he named them Las Islas Salomón, the Solomon Islands, a name heavy with prophecy. His crew spoke of tall natives adorned with shells and golden ornaments, fueling European rumors of hidden riches and ancient tribes untouched by time. By the late 1800s, British missionaries and colonial officers arrived on Guadalcanal, Malaita, and Choiseul, islands said to be haunted by spirits and giants of the bush. Locals claimed these beings, the Solali, were descendants of a first race, towering figures over 15 feet tall, with red or black hair, double rows of teeth, and glowing eyes. Though missionaries dismissed the tales, colonial logs tell of strange lights hovering over ridgelines, missing patrols, and massive footprints near riverbanks. Police reports even mention disappearances near caves said to house the people of the mountain. On Malaita, legend spoke of Mumu, a shape-shifting giant who could appear as man or beast. In the early 20th century, Australian prospectors reported megalithic ruins on Rennell and Bellona, echoing the architecture of Easter Island, traces of an ancient civilization swallowed by jungle and sea. Then came the modern era, the 1940s through the 1960s, when military bases, mining operations, and classified research crept across the islands. Reports emerged of UFOs over Mount Papamanassu, glowing orbs beneath the waves, and non-human figures darting through the forests. Some locals believe the giants and lights are connected, guardians of a forgotten epoch. Meanwhile, Western institutions like the Smithsonian quietly gathered skulls and artifacts from these islands, many never seen again. So what did they really find here, or choose to hide? As World War II descended, soldiers would soon uncover that these islands held secrets far older and far more terrifying than anyone imagined. The year is 1942. The Pacific burns with war, and the Solomon Islands, once remote and forgotten, become the center of one of World War II's bloodiest campaigns, Guadalcanal. But amid the chaos of gunfire and jungle rot, another terror stalks the battlefield, something far older than war itself. Japanese soldiers begin whispering of creatures in the rainforest, not enemy troops, but something else. Patrols begin to vanish without a trace. Locals had warned them not to enter the caves. The tall ones lived there, they said, but the warnings went unheeded until men started disappearing. According to accounts compiled by Marius Boirayon in the Solomon Islands Mysteries, Japanese units reported soldiers being dragged off at night, their bodies later found crushed or half-eaten. Survivors described enormous, hairy beings with glowing red eyes and footprints 3 feet long. When the Japanese tried to hunt them, the creatures, said to stand 12 to 15 feet tall, struck back with tree trunk clubs, shrugging off gunfire like rain. When U.S. Marines landed in August of 1942, island scouts warned them the Japanese weren't the only threat. Soon, American patrols also reported heavy footsteps circling their camps and massive shapes moving in the tree line. Official reports dismissed the stories as exhaustion or fear, yet decades later, veterans still spoke of what they saw, some with nervous laughter, others refusing to speak at all. Boirayon recounts the Malaitan priest's post-war discovery, a cave filled with helmets, bones, and giant skull fragments. Locals call it the sleeping place of the old ones. Nothing like it appears in Allied or Japanese archives, yet the same legends persist across Guadalcanal and Choiseul, where tribes still claim the giants dwell in mountain caverns watching the world below. Were these soldiers hallucinating or encountering something ancient, a remnant of a forgotten race? Beneath Guadalcanal lies a labyrinth of tunnels said to stretch from east to west. Elders whisper of a vast underground city hidden within the Great Mountains, its gateway near Mount Tatuva, where dusk often reveals towering shadows against the mist. The islanders speak of 3 giant types, the great hairy ones over 10 to 15 feet tall, a middle caste with less hair, and the wild men, smaller yet still larger than humans, who linger at the jungle's edge. Witnesses describe their long black or reddish hair, double brows, red eyes, flat noses, wide mouths, and a musky scent that drifts like a warning on the wind. These giants are organized clans, some with hierarchy and discipline driving the wild ones outward. They're woven into island life, and if you ask a villager, they'll point to a ridge or name someone who's seen them. Across Melanesia, similar tales persist. Papua New Guinea's Tambaran seen gliding past tribal gatherings, Vanuatu's elders muttering familiar names from shared memory. They defend their territory fiercely. At Gold Ridge, miners once found a bulldozer hurled onto a knoll overnight, 3-foot wide tracks pressed deep into the mud. Another time, a stranded 4-wheel drive appeared back on the road, watched over briefly by 2 massive figures before vanishing into the rain. Their prints remained the length of a child's arm. The giants also take human brides. One woman, Mango, was kidnapped and lived among them for decades until one day she returned, disoriented, mentally unstable, and pregnant with a half-giant child. The bastard boy lived to the age of 5 when one of Mango's brothers slaughtered him. Mango passed away in the year 2000, but her bloodline outside that experience, villagers claim, still runs strong along the Weather Coast, men of towering height and endless appetite. The giants carve inscriptions into stone and bury their dead in sealed tombs guarded by boulders, where some say 15-foot skeletons lie. Those who've glimpsed the world below tell of glowing halls and corridors that hum like a seashell's breath. For generations, the people offered tribute, white pigs, shell money, eelbone smoke, to appease the mountain lords who despise fire. Yet even now, when night rain drums the forest roof, stories tell of vast hands reaching through palm huts, scattering hunters in terror. Once, the giants feasted on humankind until their leader, Ludy Makody, forbade it. But the truce is fragile. Sometimes, high above Haniara, a figure still pauses to watch the world that forgot him, silent, remembering. Guadalcanal holds a riddle the war never solved. When Allied troops landed at Red Beach and advanced on Henderson Field, they expected heavy resistance but found the jungle eerily empty. Locals whisper of a darker reason. Japanese patrols that vanished inland met the island's first rulers. In the misty valleys between cave mouths and banyan roots, giants and others not easily named intercepted them. Columns dissolved, men disappeared, and word spread like fever, abandon the island. To those who live in the interior, the mountains chose who would pass and who would not. Even today, the ranges brood over stranger memories. At dawn and dusk, villagers describe formations of human-shaped flyers, hundreds at a time, gliding overhead with faint red spines. Hunters speak of scaled, upright beings slipping through the undergrowth in silence. And atop Mount Austin's War Memorial stands a subtle clue, a bronze, half-reptilian figure, its arm extended towards the mountains. Ask an elder and they'll answer the same way. The interior remembers what we have forgotten. West of Honiara, 3 tribes still speak of 2 hairy giants who walked the ridges. During the ethnic conflicts, families fleeing through the rain saw them cross their path like moving pillars of shadow. Nearby caves called ex-giant houses still breathe cold air from deep, uncharted tunnels. On other islands, the stories vary but still rhyme. Choiseul's uninhabited spine, Isabel's 2 haunted districts, Makira's reddish-haired Chawa Chawa, 4-foot, powerful, harmless, leaping between roots as if gravity were optional. Malaita's Ramo share the same bloodline but wielded terror differently. Their weapon, the subi, a timber blade as long as a canoe thwart, could cleave through palisades. Coastal villages kept drums and centuries for centuries. One Atoifi tale tells of a teenage Ramo perched in a treetop for days, arrows bristling around him, watching. When one woman entered the gardens, he struck, vanishing into green thunder. The elders' warnings endure. Giants hunt first with patience, then strength, and humans survive only by wit. Relics of this older world still surface. Spiral stone walls near Mount Mala, altars of giant scale, and carved symbols no one can read. Some say they mark the language of the giants, and the name on every tongue is still Ludy Makody, the chief who ended the feasts and forged the fragile peace. Yet when the trade winds turn and the dogs fall silent, villagers look to the ridges and remember, the mountains are watching. By the late 1990s, tales of Guadalcanal's giants had faded into bedtime warnings, but near the village of Rear, one such warning stirred again. Rex, a 16-year-old Kauai boy, stayed with his uncle by the sea, his house pressed against the jungle's edge, facing the forbidden mountains where locals whispered a lone giant lived, tending strange fruit trees and roaming by night. Restless, Rex and 4 friends broke the taboo. Following the river inland, they laughed and fished until the forest grew eerily still. No birds, no breeze, only the slow turn of water toward the mountains. Then they found it, an orchard too perfect for the wild, rows of thick-leaved trees heavy with pale, unknown fruit. Fear flickered, but curiosity drove them deeper, where they discovered a narrow trail leading to a clearing. At its center stood a dome-shaped hut, roofed not with palm, but with broad rubber leaves, smoke whispering from its peak. The boys crouched in silence, watching. After an hour, one cousin crept forward and peered inside. He froze. A 15-foot giant sat by a small fire. Its long hair was tangled, its shoulders brushing the roof. For a heartbeat, their eyes met. Then came chaos. The cousins screamed and bolted. The others fled through the undergrowth as the hut split open behind them. The forest shook with the giant's pursuit. They crashed through vines toward the river, shouting warnings to the boys waiting at the orchard. But before they could escape, the giant burst through the trees, towering furious, and seized Rex's cousin in one arm like a child's doll. Then something changed. The giant stared at the terrified boys, at the cousin struggling in his grasp. Slowly, he lowered the boy to the ground and just let him go. Without a word, he turned back toward the jungle. When the boys stumbled into Rear, gasping and wild-eyed, no one scolded them. The elders already knew where they had been. That night, around the firelight, they spoke little, only stared south toward the misted hills. Even now, the villagers say the river giant still lives there, tending his silent orchard, watching the coast with eyes that have learned mercy only once. 3 centuries ago, on the storm-torn coast of Tangarare, an old widower lived alone between jungle and tide. His house stood on stilts by the sea, his days quiet until one morning. A scream shattered the calm. From the river came a sound no man forgets: terror, then silence. Spear in hand, he followed the cry and found a giant sprawled in the grass, bleeding and torn from crocodile bites. The creature, massive, hairy, gasping, was dying. The man froze, then, against all instinct, chose compassion. He bound its wounds with vines, covered it with branches, and ran to his village for some help. Some called him mad. Others urged him to kill it while it was weak, but he refused. "He is mine to care for," he said. With 14 men, they carried the giant to his stilted home. Women brought herbs and poultices. The old man fed the creature water and taro. Word spread. People came for miles to see a living Ramo. Days passed before the giant stirred, eyes lucid, voice deep as thunder. "Why did you save me?" he asked. The man only said, "Because you were dying." Soon the giant's strength returned. "Come with me," he offered. "My people will protect you." The man agreed, and together they journeyed inland through ravines to a hidden village carved into the cliffs. Homes of mud and stone, towering figures pausing to stare. That night, the giants feasted in his honor, gifting him gemstones and strands of hair said to grant strength and safety. Before dawn, they all swore an oath, "No harm shall come to your people while we live." One giant carried him home on his shoulders through jungle and valley until the sea glimmered below. From that day forward, Tangarare knew peace. No raids, no missing hunters, no shadows in the trees. Years later, while the man climbed a betel nut tree, another giant appeared below. "Share your fruit," it said. The man laughed. "You'd eat me if I did." But the giant replied softly, "You are known to us. You are protected." So he threw down the nuts, and the giant vanished into the green. The people of Tangarare still tell his story, the man who saved a giant and for a generation turned monsters into guardians. High in the mists of Mount Papamanassu lived a clan of giants, unseen by coastal eyes and feared for their hunger. Among them was a boy named Ludy Makody, born in the late 19th century, strong as any of his kind, but with a curiosity that set him apart. One day, while searching near the coast for a tobacco pipe for his grandmother, Ludy saw a foreign ship anchored offshore. Drawn by wonder, he climbed aboard. The sailors, stunned by the towering youth, trapped him below deck, believing he'd fetch a fortune. By accident or fate, Ludy was carried across the sea to Queensland, Australia. There, he witnessed a totally different world. Islanders from Guadalcanal and Malaita enslaved in the cane fields, laboring for white men who called them workers. For the first time, he saw humans not as prey, but as kin, with minds, families, and souls. When he finally returned home years later, he gathered his clan and spoke, "The humans are not meat. They are people like us." His father, chief of the Eastern Giants, listened, and together they outlawed man-eating. But the Western clans, proud and defiant, rejected the decree. They resumed their raids, stealing villagers under the moon. Around 1915, war broke out between East and West. When Western Giants attacked Kakabano village, capturing 20 people, Ludy Makody led hundreds of Eastern warriors through the mountains. Their battle thundered across the valleys. By dawn, the Western stronghold lay in ruins. Ludy freed the captains with his own hands, giving each a tobacco pipe from his travels. "Tell your people," he said, "the giants of Guadalcanal will never eat men again." And peace followed. The giants retreated into legend, and the villagers prospered. Yet elders still tell of Ludy Makody, the giant who crossed the sea and returned with mercy in his heart. Some claim to possess one of his pipes, darkened with age and myth. When thunder rolls over the island, they say it's his voice in the clouds, a reminder that even the mightiest once learned compassion. By the mid-1990s, talks of giants had faded across Guadalcanal, but on neighboring Malaita, their memory still stirred beneath the mountains. It began when an old man named Festus arrived one Sunday with a cardboard box filled with glittering stones, garnets, sapphires, zircons, all dug from his homeland's hills. Yet it wasn't treasure he wished to share. Festus spoke of a dream, one that told him the gems were tied to something far older, buried within the island itself. He spoke of a forbidden mountain near Mount Mala, Malaita's highest peak. Hidden in the jungle, he said, stood walls of carved stone, perfectly fitted without mortar, spiraling toward a plateau crowned by a massive stone table. Beneath it, legend held, lay the tomb of a Ramo giant, a being so ancient his bones were said to hum beneath the earth. Those who glimpsed the place described impossible geometry, terraces and altars of alien precision, and granite blocks etched with unknown symbols. None dared climb it. Villagers called it taboo, warning that those who approached never returned. The locals called their giants Mumu, a word shared with Pacific myths of Mu, a vanished oceanic civilization said to have sunk beneath the waves. Could Malaysia's ruins be its remnants and the giants its last descendants? Explorers who ventured inland report granite obelisks half buried in moss, marked with luminous carvings no islander could read. One, 4 feet tall, shimmered as if it was alive, like the script of a forgotten world. Elders told that these mountains once belonged to beings who walked as gods. Their stone monuments built not for worship, but remembrance, memorials of an age when man and giant shared the earth before the sea swallowed their kingdom. And still, the stones remain, cut, aligned, and silent under vines and rain. Some nights, when the wind howls through the palms, villagers say a low hum rises from Mount Mala, the voice of the buried Ramo, still breathing beneath the soil. No one knows if it marks the resting place of giants or the ruins of Mu itself, but the people of Malaita say this much is certain. Their builders were real, and their world, though drowned, has never stopped whispering. When the rain falls on small Malaita, it feels like a veil is lifted between worlds. Villagers gather in their huts, chewing betel nut, speaking quietly of Mumu, their word for giants. To outsiders, it sounds like a myth, but on Malaita, the name carries weight. Everyone knows where not to walk after dark. Curiously, the same word appears in Pacific legends of Mu, a vanished oceanic continent. Coincidence or a memory too old to fade? Elders tell of the mountain people, towering figures who once walked the island freely before retreating into the misted highlands. They speak of tracks appearing overnight by rivers and laughter echoing from canyons, too deep, too hollow to be human. The Mumu, they say, can pass between worlds through tunnels, caves, and waterfalls. Even today, villagers avoid those ridges where the big ones walk unseen. But newer tales hint that the Mumu never left, only changed. On stormless nights, lights drift silently over the jungle, round, white, gliding across low ridgelines. The people call them diamond snakes, glowing orbs that rise from the waterfall lake and move like living things. To the islanders, they're no mystery. They've seen them for generations. They fly most nights, one elder told Marius Boirayon. Sometimes one, sometimes 3. They live beneath the water. The lights moved exactly like UFOs seen over Guadalcanal, smooth, deliberate, vanishing into the clouds. But on Malaita, they weren't unidentified. They were part of the island's rhythm, ancient and familiar. Some say the diamond snakes travel through underground tunnels linking the islands of the Solomons, passages once used by giants and still might be today. Others believe they are the Mumu themselves, no longer giants of flesh but beings of energy, luminous echoes of an age when gods walked the earth. The stories are consistent, the witnesses unshaken. These aren't new myths, they are living memory. And as the rain drums on the forest canopy, the truth hums beneath the storm. The Mumu never vanished. Some dwell in the mountains, some beneath the sea, and some, the villagers say, still rise into the air. And now, on quiet nights, when mist curls through the palms, the diamond snakes return, glowing, silent, alive, and the jungle holds its breath until they pass. The people of Malaita still whisper of the Ramo giants, towering beings said to have ruled the Solomon Islands long before before the first canoe touched its shores. Ramo actually means man who eats men, or man with spiritual powers who eats men. The Kwayo call them World Ramo, hinting at origins beyond the island, perhaps beneath it. Oral tradition speaks of two kinds, the great, hairy 15-foot titans still said to haunt the mountains of Guadalcanal, Isabel, and Malaita, and their hybrid offspring, humans born with Ramo blood. These half-breeds grew up among villagers, unnoticed until adolescence, when unnatural strength and darker instincts began to surface. Elders claim the Ramo once allied with a subterranean race, beings possibly extraterrestrial, who may have merged their DNA with the giants. Does that sound familiar? Some legends describe these as extraterrestrials below the Solomon Islands, experimenting with power, size, and mind control. The Ramo could supposedly paralyze victims with thought alone before devouring them. Even modern accounts echo the terror. In Guanabasu, a young man was dragged away in the night by what villagers called a devil Ramo. He was found alive but shattered, muttering of red eyes and inhuman hands. Dead 3 days later with no wounds, only fear. The Ramo were said to possess monstrous strength, ripping men apart or carrying victims like sacks of grain. They raided villages, eating their prey alive, using massive subi clubs to crush huts and men alike. Yet their cunning was equal to their savagery. Some would hide in the treetops for days, striking when humans grew careless. One giant, Fungalalu, lived deep in the mountains. Legends say he ate his own children in rage. 1,000 years ago, their kind declined. Some interbred with humans, others retreated underground, perhaps back to their ancient allies. The half-Ramo still lurk, say the locals, in hidden valleys and forests. Many believe Melanesian headhunting rituals were echoes of the giants' cannibalism, a grim inheritance from their rule. To the islanders, the Ramo are no myth but history itself, and if even a part of these stories are true, the Solomon Islands may conceal not just ancient ruins or alien bases, but the last refuge of a species older than mankind. Long before missionaries brought their Bibles and flags, the people of Malaita already feared the sky. Elders spoke of fiery orbs drifting over the mountains, living lights called diamond snakes. They stole people, scorched huts, and vanished into the sea. Even today, old men swear those lights still glide over rivers on humid nights, diving into the water with a hiss like breath. Centuries ago, when the Ramo giants still haunted the coasts, 3 Kwayo boys decided to spy on one. They had seen the diamond snake vanish near a river beyond their village and followed its glow one moonlit night. Through the ferns, they found it, an orb of silver light humming softly among the trees. Near it stood 3 tall, man-like beings, half shadow, half metal, bent over a glowing stone that pulsed with inner fire. When the beings returned to their craft, the orb brightened and silently rose through the canopy into the stars, leaving the stone behind. The boys crept forward, trembling. The rock was dense, warm, and faintly luminous. Believing it sacred, they hid it in a hollow tree by the river. Moments later, the night split open. The diamond snake returned, hovering above the clearing. A red beam lanced downward, striking the stump where they hid it. Before their eyes, the heavy stone rose into the air, drawn upward until it vanished into the orb. The light flared once, then shot skyward, gone without a sound. From that night, none doubted the tale. Generations later, the elders still warned that the diamond snakes come not from the stars, but from beneath the sea, mining the earth's depths for glowing stones, tools of a subterranean race. Marius Boirayon later examined a gemstone unlike any known to science, a flawless sphere, 32.4 carats, impossibly dense, reflecting light inward so that lasers vanished on contact. 8 gemologists failed to classify it. They named it simply ET. If true, it suggests that beneath the Ontong Java Plateau, where Malaita rises, lies more than the bones of giants, perhaps an ancient colony harvesting both gems and men. And so the people still watch the skies. When the red eyes of the diamond snakes pass overhead, they remember the three boys, the stolen stone, and the light that came back to reclaim it. High in the misted highlands of northwest Guadalcanal, beyond the jungles once ruled by the Ramo giants, lies Mount Dragon, a waterfall lake halfway up a sheer mountain wall, its waters plunging into an impossible blue. Locals avoid it after dark. They say glowing orbs rise from the lake, dragon snakes, living lights that hum softly before vanishing into the clouds. The name came from a Chinese trader who saw them in the 1930s and vanished in a tsunami soon after, leaving only the legend behind. In Chaparro, the nearest village, the lights appear almost nightly, darting through valleys, hovering above rivers, and plunging into the sea as if the water were a doorway. Elders say beneath the lake lies an entrance to the underworld, where the giants and the lights are one. During his stay, Boirayon and local guide trekked 6 days into those mountains. From a hidden ridge, they claimed to see multiple orbs rising and descending into the lake. Silent, radiant, deliberate. The air shimmered with static. The jungle seemed to watch back. Boirayon concluded these were not visitors from the stars, but beings native to Earth, a hidden civilization beneath the Solomon Islands, older than humanity itself. Their luminous craft, stingray-shaped and silent, emerge from sea caves and vanish into the mountains. Witnesses describe tall, pale, or obsidian-skinned figures in strange uniforms glimpsed at the water's edge before disappearing into the jungle. Even leaders have seen them. Former Prime Minister Sir Alan Kemakeza, whose home overlooks Chaparro, reportedly watched the lights many times but never spoke publicly. When Australia launched Operation Help 'em Friend in 2003, officials claim it was to fight terrorism. Locals whispered another name, Operation Contanium UFO. They believed foreign forces were securing subterranean tunnels, gateways, not oil fields. Rumors persist of British geologists, NASA agents, and foreign militaries exploring hidden chambers said to stretch beneath Malaita and Guadalcanal, glowing with inner light. Boirayon warns these beings wield technology that bends memory itself, perhaps why even lifelong witnesses forget what they have seen. And so the question remains, are the dragon snakes guardians or jailers of a world beneath our feet? On quiet nights, the lake at Mount Dragon still glows as if something ancient stirs below, watching, waiting, remembering what humanity has forgotten. Across Malaita and Guadalcanal, elders told the same story. The sky was never empty. Night shimmered with wandering spheres, diamond snakes on Malaita, dragon snakes on Guadalcanal, silent craft gliding over ridges, diving into rivers, or vanishing through waterfall lakes as if stone and water were thin veils. When they passed low, the air crackled, dogs hid, and people vanished. Some were found, ash white, seared by a red light. Priests whispered ancient taboo to ward them off. Sometimes it worked, sometimes not. Over generations, villagers mapped forbidden zones, valleys where orbs fell like fruit, caves that exalted cold air in summer, pools that never silted. The giants, the Ramo, knew these places best. Old stories said they guided lights through the mountains or guarded tunnel mouths where the orbs sank into the earth. When the giants hunted the coast, the lights patrolled the sky. Between them, the people built larger coastal villages and slept lightly. Even when the entire coasts witnessed fleets of glowing stingray-shaped craft, memory thinned by morning as if the lights could erase thought itself. Still, the pattern held. Subterranean doors beneath lakes, orbs that harvested both stone and men, and giant clans divided, some sworn to protect humanity, others allied to the lights below. As centuries passed, the balance fractured. The peaceful giants withdrew. The cannibal clans returned to the hills. Hunters who pursued them found footprints circling back towards black tunnels. The orbs, too, hunted, descending like tides, lifting men and baskets into their bellies before gliding on. Work lights for a nation beneath the rock, the elders said. When radios and boats arrived, outsiders came quietly. Geologists, soldiers, and agents mapping the glowing flight paths and guarding the lake mouths. They dismissed it all by day, but stationed watchmen at night. Villagers noticed new camps near the taboo pools, engines humming like the orbs but never leaving the ground. And in the quiet hours, a deeper rumor spread that the lights were not visitors, but Earth's first kin, a civilization that went underground before mankind learned fire, and that the giants were their cousins, sworn to keep the doors sealed. The elders' warning remains: where the giants walk, the light follows. Where the lights gather, men vanish. So never call near waterfalls at night, and if a dragon snake hovers over the water, walk on. Pretend you saw nothing. In the weeks before anyone braved the valley of Mount Dragon, 2 nuns vanished along the road where the dragon snake lights were often seen rising into the sky. The people of northwest Guadalcanal knew the corridor well. Where disappearances came, blamed first on giants, then on the lights. Elders said the ridgeline above fed the same waterfall lake where the orbs went into the ground. The pattern never changed. Footprints that ended at stone, echoes that ended at water. Beyond the last gardens, the land steep and green, hunters spoke of pigs and serpents, but all obeyed older laws. Keep silent, avoid the pig paths, never shine fire toward the falls. The giants, they said, crossed there by night, moving between the coast and the hidden world below. Recent kidnappings prove some clans still walk those forbidden routes. From a ridge above the basin, witnesses saw what villagers had long sworn was true. Near midnight, the lake began to glow from within. A sphere rose, gliding soundlessly down valley, a dragon snake on patrol. Hours later, another emerged, then another, each tracing a fixed course before sinking again into the luminous water. This was no omen, no wandering light. It was a door with traffic. In the villages, they whispered that the giants guarded these entrances, some as protectors, others as collaborators, and that the lights used multiple passages hidden along the ridges. One such door lay near the valley mouth, close enough for fishermen to point toward but never approach. On clear nights, the orbs followed the same routes the giants walked at dawn, as if sky and earth shared a single treaty. So the coast learned to read what wasn't there. Vanished tracks on the road, pigs refusing to feed, dogs too frightened to bark. And when the valley pulsed faintly at night and the air vibrated like a hive, they knew the pact was being kept. Giants stalking the ridges, dragon snakes moving below, and the people between them listening for names no one dared to speak. I hope you enjoyed this presentation. Be sure to see part 2 or the first few minutes for YouTube listeners for a chance to win a free brand new copy of the book discussed in this video, Solomon Islands Mysteries, valued between $150 and over $500 on Amazon. When doing research for this project, I found a lot of archival records from the 18 and 1900s along Southeast Asian islands, compiling endless accounts of giants as told by early missionaries, travelers, and local folklore. And I'm going to be putting that into a series of short reels. So be sure to follow on all my platforms so you don't miss those incredible stories to come. Thanks for taking this journey with me. The future is in our ancient past.